Mark, we have an explosive new update involving Kash Patel's FBI. What exactly is happening right now? And why are people calling this a major turning point?
Yeah, so Kash Patel has declared a priority for 260 new agents to be added to the Fulton County investigation of the 2020 election. And this is a massive expansion of Donald Trump's effort to try to cast doubt on the 2020 election in the advance of the 2026 election. Now, this may seem like just folly, and in some sense it is, but of course this follows the seizure of ballots from 2020, and all signs point to some type of surprise that Donald Trump wants to spring this fall, either by claiming that there's new evidence about Fulton County, by getting Maduro. There are a lot of rumors that he's going to try to get Maduro to give him a cushier prison sentence if he says that Venezuela tried to interfere in the 2020 election. But anyone who thought that Donald Trump was done in his effort to undermine the truth about the 2020 election, or thought that Kash Patel wasn't going to do everything he can, along with Todd Blanche and everybody else, to continue this big lie, well, you were wrong.
Now let's break this down, because what we are seeing raises serious questions. From one perspective, critics argue that these moves look like an aggressive attempt to search for any evidence at all, that could be used to build a narrative around election fraud. The concern here isn't just about investigations themselves, but about intent. Is this about uncovering truth, or about constructing a justification for future political actions? That's the core of the debate right now. I mean, to many observers, it appears like a strategy of look everywhere until you find something, even if that something is stretched, misinterpreted, or taken out of context. The bigger fear being raised is whether this could eventually be used as a pretext to influence future elections, suppress votes, or shape public perception ahead of critical moments. Is that what's really going on here?
Yeah, I mean, look, the big lie is at the cornerstone of the modern Republican Party. I mean, you can be a lot of things in the modern Republican Party. You can be against tariffs. You can be in favor of tariffs. You can be pro-choice or pro-life, whatever it is. You can be whatever you want. But the one thing you can't be is telling the truth about what happened in 2020 and not believe in voter suppression, election subversion in 2026. So in some sense, Kash Patel here is carrying out the highest mandate of the Republican Party's goal and Donald Trump's top priority, which is to spread lies about elections, starting with the 2020 election, but of course, moving forward, and we've already seen those lies already begun in the 2026 election.
And this leads to a deeper concern, trust. Because when people start believing that institutions are being used in bad faith, the damage goes beyond politics. It hits the foundation of public confidence. There's a growing perception among critics that multiple actors in this space may not be operating with genuine intentions, and instead are reinforcing narratives that serve a larger political goal. So the real question becomes, is there anyone in this entire process who can step in with credibility and bring clarity? Is there a mechanism, whether it's internal oversight, independent review, or even the courts, that can cut through the noise and establish facts? Or are we looking at a situation where everyone is simply playing their role in a larger political theater? Is there a judge, a legal process, or any neutral authority that can ground this in reality?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, there will be lawyers like me and others on the outside. There will be judges that cases get brought to. But the critical thing here is that this is an administration from top to bottom built around this lie and built around trying to justify Donald Trump's outrageous actions. So let's just run through some of the players here. You've got obviously Donald Trump and his White House staff. People forget that in the aftermath of the 2020 election, one of the reasons why Donald Trump didn't try to seize ballots was that his own White House staff objected. Well, that's not true anymore. Then you've got the acting attorney general, right? Todd Blanche. I mean, Todd Blanche is 100% in the column of do whatever Donald Trump wants. Kash Patel, the director of the FBI. I mean, he was an election denier before he became the FBI director. I suspect that's why he became the FBI director. And through this action of commandeering, 260 agents who will not be fighting crime, will not be investigating white collar crime, will not be trying to figure out where corporations are cheating and stealing, but instead will be doing this, like he's on board. We've got the director of national intelligence, which has been Tulsi Gabbard. She was last seen on an evidence truck, apparently taking directions from some kind of guru, that we read about. But anyway, she, in Fulton County, she's been replaced now by Bill Pulte, who is, just another Trump lackey. His chief of staff is an election denier. I mean, so there's no one in the administration who is going to stand up and say, this is crazy and we should not be doing this. And so, this is full steam ahead. This is going to have to be those of us on the outside who are willing to stand up and speak out, people like you, people like me. They vacillate between sort of having staked their flag on the 2020 election, so that's good. They are pretty strong on that. But everything about the 2026 election, they're just trying to duck and cover and not get in the crosshairs of the administration as they try to, curry favor with them. So, I hope everyone subscribes to your channel.
And Mark, taking that even further, if internal resistance isn't likely, what options exist externally? Because if critics are right in saying that no one inside the system is willing to push back, then what happens next? Can anything be done from the outside to ensure accountability? Or does the structure of executive power mean that agencies like the FBI can continue operating without meaningful intervention in situations like this? This is where the conversation becomes even more important. Because oversight in a democratic system is supposed to exist at multiple levels, legal, institutional, and public. But if those checks aren't functioning effectively, then the question becomes whether public awareness and scrutiny are the only remaining tools to counterbalance potential overreach.
Yeah, so what I think is going on here is he's got all these investigations going on, right? There's the big grand jury in Florida that we keep hearing about that seems to be tied into the 2016 election and John Brennan and a cockamamie theory there. You've got obviously what's going on in Fulton County. You've got the U.S. attorney or the acting U.S. attorney in L.A., claiming that, they're investigating the, primary election in California, right? So we've got all of these things going on. But it's not clear that any of them will ever materialize to the point where a court will actually get involved. I suspect part of what we're going to see is going to be a disinformation campaign that is waged based on quote unquote findings or reports that are released by various parts of the federal government that will be used as a predicate to make false claims of fraud in 2026 and then again in 2028. So it'll be frustrating because there won't be a actual legal case to actually contest because they've learned that when they actually bring legal cases, it doesn't work out well. I don't know if you saw the Jeanine Pirro press conference in DC about the liner. The guy who put his hand, in the algae-filled reflecting pool, that's an example of where the administration brings a case and they get humiliated. I mean, They are going to be you can mark this tape. They are going to be humiliated by the outcome of that case. And I think, in all seriousness, it has led them to bring fewer cases and use a lot of these investigations just to build a rhetorical, case that they can use to stoke their base.
Now, tying this into a broader pattern, this isn't happening in isolation. There have been past statements and recorded moments where the strategy itself seemed to be laid out plainly: create doubt, question legitimacy, and let that narrative take hold. The idea isn't necessarily to win arguments in courtrooms, where evidence is required, but to win in the court of public opinion, where perception often outweighs proof. And that's a powerful distinction. Because while legal challenges may fail due to lack of evidence, narratives can still spread rapidly and influence millions. The concern here is that public messaging becomes the primary battleground, where repetition and emotional appeal can shape beliefs regardless of factual outcomes. Just like this pattern we've seen before.
Here's the thing, it's not just their base. I wish it was just their base, but read the Washington Post. Take a look sometime at CBS News and even, CNN. These folks are going along for the ride because they're trying to, sell theme park tickets or get deals done or whatever. Because the truth is, legacy media is not going to stand up when these things happen. What they'll do is they'll say, Republicans claim, Donald Trump claims that there is evidence of fraud. Democrats like Mark Elias say it's not true, and then we'll be in that kind of place. Right. And people need better than that.
At the same time, this raises questions about the role of media. Should journalism simply present both sides, or does it have a responsibility to actively evaluate truth versus misinformation? This ongoing debate is fueling frustration among audiences who feel that neutrality sometimes allows false narratives to gain equal footing with verified facts. And that's why some platforms and outlets are positioning themselves differently. Focusing not just on reporting what is said, but on analyzing whether those claims hold up under scrutiny. Because in a climate like this, clarity becomes just as important as coverage. Now here's another critical angle: timing. We are already deep into the election cycle, and despite multiple attempts to introduce policies or measures that could influence voting processes, many of those efforts haven't succeeded. Legal challenges have blocked certain actions, legislative proposals have stalled, and key initiatives haven't gained traction. So the big question now is, does time still remain for any meaningful impact? Is there still a pathway for significant interference, or are these efforts running out of runway? And if so, what strategies might still be in play behind the scenes?
I mean, look, he's got enough time to spread lies and disinformation. He's got enough time for his Department of Justice to make a spectacle and try to intimidate his political opponents. He's got enough time to get the Republican Party, to attack voting rights more in court. I mean, remember, the case we just won in the U.S. Supreme Court, that my law firm and I won, involving mail-in voting. It was the Republican National Committee that was on the other side of that case, right? The people who were trying to kick out and throw away hundreds of thousands of mail-in votes was the Republican National Committee. So there's lots of time for Donald Trump to try to do those things. It doesn't mean he'll be successful, and I doubt he'll be successful in court, but there's a lot of things he can try to do and a lot of levers he can try to pull. We see that with the Postal Service already. We see that with these criminal investigations. We see that with the FBI. We see that with, as I said, rumors about what he might be doing with Maduro or others. And it's not going to get better between here and Election Day. And we all need to be discerning about the information. We need to have trusted news outlets and information that we can believe, because it's going to be more important than ever for people to get accurate information in the heat of the moment as we get closer to Election Day.
Because ultimately, this story isn't just about one agency or one individual. It's about the intersection of power, perception, and public trust. It's about how narratives are built, how institutions are viewed, and how much influence those narratives can have on the democratic process itself. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think these developments are part of a legitimate investigation process? Or do they raise deeper concerns about how institutions are being used? And more importantly, what role should oversight and accountability play moving forward? If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more in-depth analysis, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective matters, and the conversation doesn't end here.